Hey everybody, welcome to Rockin' the Valley Cyber Speakeasy. Well, make sure people can actually hear me. Yes, people can actually hear me, I think. But if I'm not sure, go ahead and leave me a comment to let me know that the sound in the video is actually coming through. I'm always grateful for that. Thank you for joining us here at Rockin' the Valley Cyber Speakeasy. My name is Mike, I am not for Coltrane, and the password today on the Cyber Speakeasy is intersectional. Today we have some wonderful guests here that we have we've all sorts of fun things to talk about. So let me pull up everybody here, and if you can unmute yourselves, we can have some conversations. And it sounds like everyone's unmuted, and able to talk. Cheers to you. We have Rachel Marie up there on the upper level, and we've got Jason Reef there of Freestone Productions there on the bottom. I, of course, am over here on the other side. So what's everybody drinking this evening, starting with Rachel?
Oh no, I don't know the answer.
Well, you didn't know we were talking about this?
I wanted to give my partner John a warning so that he could come on as my special guest.
Ah, okay. Well, that's fine. Well, we will give you more time. I'll just say that in general, accepting drinks that you don't know what's in them, usually not the best plan. This is a trusted partner that you have.
Trusted source, right.
So that works. Well, then let's go to you, Jason. What do you have?
So, during this whole quarantine, when it was hard to get, anything but beer and wine at the grocery store, I stumbled down to the Linden Street Market on the next block and found Great America's, I just forgot what it's called, Moonshine.
Moonshine?
And so I've got watermelon flavor tonight this summer.
Watermelon flavored moonshine. Okay. Well, how is it?
It's not bad. I mean,
okay.
it's honestly, it's about the alcohol content of a glass of wine. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to sell it. But hey, there's all kinds. There's like apple pie and blueberry and
wow.
It's
that doesn't sound authentic to Appalachia.
No, but it did it when I haven't been able to get any whiskey very easily. So it hit the spot for them.
Something a little bit artisanal. There you go. Well, what I have here is I've got lime and blueberries. I muddled a little bit with ice and ginger ale. As we were talking a little bit before the show, I every week I'm trying to come up with something interesting to have with me here on camera. This needs a little bit of revision. It could be a little sweeter. But on the whole, I think there's a lot of lime juice, and it needed a little more sugar to balance some of that. But on the whole, it's not bad. I mean, and for anyone who does know anything about mixed drinks, I don't know if this resembles anything, any existing mixed drink. What do you think?
Couldn't tell you. I'm not an expert.
Well, if anyone wants in the comments, if anyone wants to jump in and say this reminds them of anything, I suspect it may be pretty original. And if so, I think calling it a not for Coltrane is a very reasonable thing that might end up happening. So, so there you are. And so, Rachel, are we going to come back to you about to learn more about your drink?
Yeah, my whole thing is I know nothing. So before I was with my partner John, I pretty much exclusively drank like artisanal beer, usually local, and very cheap wine. And then we got together.
So it was like the beer and okay, got it.
Yeah, because I don't have any taste for wine. I just think it's nice. So I would just get the cheapest wine I could.
Makes sense.
And we got together and I started drinking cocktails. And this is a sentimental gentleman, but that's about all I know.
So is that a sentimental gentleman who is with you, or is that your drink?
Exactly. It serves all sorts of purposes.
Our second anniversary is tomorrow, so we're
happy anniversary!
Sentimental.
Very nice.
Thanks.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's a base of mixing scotch with Benedictine, which is an herbal liqueur, and Nux Alpina, which is a walnut liqueur, which you wouldn't expect. At least I didn't expect to go together.
Yeah,
but they do. Yeah.
Well, you get the award for the most creative.
Yeah, absolutely.
The most fancy, I guess.
Oh, and hey, let me ask you this, since you might know certainly more than the rest of us who are here. This is ginger ale and blueberry and lime on the rocks. Does that resemble any existing drink, or have I invented something?
I think you've invented something.
There you go. It's the Not for Coltrane.
I love it.
Amazing.
I love it.
There we go.
Cool.
Thanks, honey.
Thank you very much for joining us, John.
Thanks. My pleasure.
And I wanted to mix things up a little bit. Ordinarily, this would be the part of the show where I would go over and start playing a song, but I wanted to get us started by talking about something that all three of us have in common, and that, in fact, Rachel and Jason did not realize they had in common until we got together for this evening, is that all of us are part of the larger Godfrey Daniels community, and we've all been pulled into the orbit of wonderful Godfrey Daniels listening room here in Bethlehem, PA. And just if we could go around and say, how did we end up becoming part of that community? Rachel, could you, I know the answer broadly, but I'm curious to how you would describe it.
The interesting thing about Godfrey's is I had no idea I didn't know anything about music venues when I was a kid, but then when I grew up and started going to Godfrey's, it turned out my parents, before I was born, bounced between Pittsburgh and Bethlehem several times, and then after I was born, they bounced permanently back to Bethlehem. And then when I started singing and writing songs and was in high school and wanted to start going to open mics, it turned out that there was this place that my dad used to go to open mics when he lived in Bethlehem before I was born. So then we started going back for open mics together, and it sort of snowballed, and my parents volunteer all the time, and now it's just a part of our lives.
So you were in high school when you started going to like Godfrey Daniels open mics?
I believe so.
Yeah, sounds plausible.
Probably.
Jason, and how about you?
Probably just through some friends to begin with. I started recording people here in the Valley around 2012, and had some friends who were either going to the open mic or performing over there. And I remember just being there for a show one night. It may have been a release show for John Hufford, I think.
Okay. Okay.
And I remember just going up to Dave Fry and being like, "Do you guys need any help on soundboard?" He goes, "Yes,
yes."
So I quickly became one of the volunteer sound engineers over there. And so I've met plenty of people, been able to get real close with the Charter Arts group that comes in and does vocalist cafes and songwriter cafes, and just really cool. And I was able to record some people I've met through the Godfrey Daniels thing. I've worked with Dina Hall, Alex Radis, Julia Sommer. It's been a really cool just networking place for me, for sure.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, it is so great for that it has such a strong community around Godfrey's of many people who are just really, really talented. And we've lost my video.
Yeah.
That's not ideal.
But we've got a pup.
That's Coltrane. So I don't have a really good explanation for why my video has suddenly disappeared. Well, I will probably try to fix that later on during someone else's talk. What I'll do at the moment is I'll put it just back on me, because then I can talk and we can't see everybody else, unfortunately. But I've been doing music before I grew up in Maryland, all through high school and then up through college, and then I got married and had kids, and I'm like, I guess I'm not going to do music anymore. And then 10 years later, when the marriage didn't last, I started like, hey, I need to start doing music again, and I started looking for places to go. One of the open mics I found out about was the Godfrey Daniels one, and I went in on a night, and I'm like, I am not ready to play here. This is not ready. This is the. But I worked at some other open mics for a little bit and raised my game up a little bit, and then was able to come back, and then quickly became part of the community, helping to run sound, like Jason was saying, and helping to run open mics for quite a while. And so it's.
I think I met you over at Hava Java for the first time, Mike.
That certainly seems possible. Let me see if I can.
And that probably was pretty early when you were getting back into music.
Yeah, I was hosting the open mics at Hava Java for a good couple of years there.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah. So,
I think I forgot about every other open mic that exists in the Lehigh Valley. So when you mention them, I'm like, whoa,
Oh, there's a thing! There's a thing! Well, what I'm going to do right now, since people can't see me when I'm talking in this particular configuration, I'm going to put it back on me for a minute, and I'm going to do a song of my choosing, and then we'll go around the horn and see if I can fix some of the other technical issues. But I'm going to start with a song. I've been doing mostly covers for these past couple weeks, but I'm going to do one of my originals. It's something that in some ways does speak to the moment that we're in, but sort of the immediate thing that was inspiring it was I found one of those boxes of old mementos from when I was in high school. And I think most of us have something somewhere in our homes that's either a box or a filing cabinet or a shelf with old photo albums, something that's a reminder of who we used to be. And as I tried to work through this and come to experience what was there, I was realizing that I had totally lost touch with the part of myself that was represented in that box. And so this song was about trying to reconnect with who I was then. I've been waiting here in boxes, this cardboard reverie, handwritten notes and yearbook quotes on who you used to be, and all these faded photographs and hopeful memories, wondering when you'd rediscover me. I know I seem naive now, I could never understand your world of mortgage payments, divorce papers, broken plans. But I hope you won't dismiss me, my heart could help you stand. There's so much power in this outstretched hand. We are stronger together. Put your faith in your heart. Can't go wrong choosing kindness, 'cause we're stronger here together than apart. Yes, we're stronger here together than apart. I can see the world you're in still has a ways to go. Politicians rage at children, neighbors at each other's throats, and all these huddled masses and the ones who tell them no. There's so much fear, they all need us to show. We are stronger together. Put your faith in your heart. Can't go wrong choosing kindness, 'cause we're stronger here together than apart. Yes, we're stronger here together than apart. Part of us is a stranger, part of us lives in pain, part of us seethes with anger, part of us is still enslaved, part of us is addicted, part of us has lost the way. Can we find the strength to see those parts and say, we are stronger together. Put your faith in your heart. Can't go wrong choosing kindness, 'cause we're stronger here together than apart. Yes, we're stronger here together than apart. So at this moment, all of you are distanced from me and from my guests, everyone who's out there watching this over Facebook. But I would like to try a little bit of an experiment, and I hope you'll be willing to do it along with me. The song always ends up with an invitation for everyone to join in singing. And if you are somewhere that you feel like you can sing out loud, please do, because there is something that's so powerful that happens when we all sing together. And if you want to just throw up comments out on Facebook that say you are singing along, or the words that you are singing, put those in the comments. Let's try that. The first words are, we are stronger together. We are stronger. Put your faith in your heart. Put your faith. Can't go wrong choosing kindness. Can't go wrong choosing. Because we're stronger here together than apart. Because we're stronger here together than apart. Yes, we're stronger. Yes, we're stronger here together. We are stronger together. We are stronger. Put your faith in your heart. Put your faith. Can't go wrong choosing kindness. Can't go wrong choosing. Cause we're stronger here together. Cause we're stronger here together than. Yes, we're stronger. Yes, we're stronger here together. We are stronger together. We are stronger. Put your faith in your heart. Put your faith. Can't go wrong choosing kindness. Can't go wrong choose. So we're stronger here together. Cause we're stronger here together. Yes, we're stronger. Yes, we're stronger here together than apart. Stronger Together is that song there. And we throw it back to our guests there. And you know what? While I was singing, oh, they're clapping, thank you very much. While they were singing, it occurred to me, I bet I know why it stopped working. And that maybe, hey, I'm back, yay, all the various things that were happening. So thanks very much to everyone who was singing along, everyone who was commenting. If you have met me, you know I was already singing along. Thanks very much to Mary for that comment. I'm glad that you were singing along. Let me grab my control panel down here and send it over to, let's talk to Rachel for a little bit here.
Okay.
Let's see. All right. To do that, I'm going to start by doing that.
By clicking some buttons.
And pressing some buttons where people can't see. And I'm going to spotlight that one. And then...
I've been spotlighted.
Rachel is right there. Excellent. How are you?
I'm all right.
Yes, like you were saying before, that is such a loaded question these days, to have that just to introduce, hey, how are things? Well...
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Everything's a crisis, but right now, I'm fine. So...
Knock on some wood and then we'll proceed from there.
Yeah.
I guess we didn't, at the beginning we didn't totally introduce folks from...
I like that introduction.
Where, yeah, you know, whatever. From, obviously you have a connection to Lehigh Valley here with Godfrey Daniels, but you're not actually in the Lehigh Valley right now.
I'm not.
That's true. So I'm sorry. So where are you right now, and how does that part of the story fit together?
Right now, I live outside Boston, Massachusetts, and I moved to Cambridge, Mass. For grad school in 2014 for early music. So I was singing Baroque music, early classical music, Renaissance, medieval music, and sort of graduated and went, you know what I miss is open mics? And so then I just sort of like...
So you mean you passed up on all that good classical music money?
Oh my gosh. Right. Classical money, folk money. What is it really? Yeah. So now I'm doing a combination of teaching, gigging, and Patreon. Teaching, gigging, Patreon, singing in a church choir, and occasional recitals of Baroque or early classical music. Not a whole heck of a lot of that. It's just so much to take on by oneself to do recitals. But yeah. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Well, and that was one of the things that I was hoping to get a chance to talk about in terms of the vast majority of musicians, it's true here in Lehigh Valley, it's true pretty much everywhere, is that it is really, really hard to make a living as a musician, and that there are so many very, 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 very talented people who also need to have some kind of day job or side hustle. You know, everything from, you know, someone has their own graphic design business, or they wait tables, or they're a substitute teacher, or all sorts of other things. To make the economics work where the art is your livelihood is really, really hard to do. And you've been doing it basically full time for how many years? How long has it been now?
I was at the cafe I worked at for 4 years, so I guess that means it's been 2 years, almost.
Okay.
2 years in August that I've not worked at a cafe.
And what is that? I'm sure that there was a lot of nervousness in saying, okay, I'm removing this other avenue of income. But how is it? Obviously, you've been able to sustain it for 2 years, which is pretty amazing. How does it work?
Yeah. For me, personally, I think it is convenient that I am a person who loves spreadsheets. So it involved a lot. Yeah. So it involved a lot of tracking. So it was 2 years of grad school, 2 years I was in grad school and also working at the cafe. 2 years I was working at the cafe full time. And you didn't really ask this question, but sort of the hinge for me was I was offered I was offered an opening act for someone who I was mind blown that I was being asked to open for, and was like, I just have to make sure I'm not making sandwiches that night. And I was like, this is dumb. We need to not do this anymore. Yeah. So that was when I sort of took to my spreadsheets and went, okay, how much money is coming from singing in church every Sunday? How much money is coming from performing? How much money is coming from teaching? And I think the teaching aspect, especially, well, there are a couple things, like for me as a folk singer, I think especially, is that most folk singers don't necessarily like do the church job thing. I think a lot of classical singers in cities do the church job thing. So that was like lucky that I was already doing that. I already had that source of income, and that was like part of it for me. And also, like, not everyone likes teaching. And I do. So it was sort of just a balance of like, how much money am I making at the cafe every week? How many gigs do I have to do? And how many students do I have to have to make this balance shift? And the sort of scary part was I was high up enough. I was the assistant general manager of the cafe that I was working at. So I was high up enough that it was like, it wasn't realistic and didn't make any sense for me to just like slowly phase myself out. Like, it wouldn't make sense for the assistant general manager.
You can't just do like a few fewer shifts.
Working 2 days a week. Yeah. Exactly. So I did feel like I sort of had to just like drop and switch and hope that I was right enough. But so I just like saved up a couple of months worth of rent plus the tiny amount of money that I spend on food, because I'm also incredibly frugal. That's part of my personality.
Well, I mean, and I'm sure you have to be. It's part of the way that to make the economics work.
Yeah. But so I saved up a couple of months of money, and the same time that I quit my job, like the day I worked through July of 2018, and on August 1st, 2018, launched my Patreon page, and was, just sort of like, who wants to give me money every month? Anyone? Maybe? I'll give you some content. So, yeah, it was scary, but it's been working.
Yeah. Which is great. And then of course, and so you're humming along, you're like, okay, this seems sustainable. I think we can make this work. And then coronavirus hits and all the traditional gigs go away. How have you been able to weather that transition?
Luckily for me, at this point, so like I still have Patreon and I still have my church job, which like both of which are very lucky. Like I just happen to have chosen the subscription model 2 years ago, thinking that was a good idea. So now I still have that every month, and I still have my church job most weeks. We're doing just, Zoom church. So I'm still doing that. And also, luckily, I'm in a position where I do live with John, and he has a salary, and he can work from home, and that's fine for him. So, well, that I'm incredibly grateful for, that I don't have to. If something happens to the Patreon and teaching, and I'm doing like Zoom and FaceTime lessons too, so it really is like, for me, I think I'm incredibly lucky that I just happen to be set up in such a way that, like, the church job went online, the lessons went online, the Patreon was already online. So
and that was one of the things I was going to ask about, because my guess is that a lot of your supporters through the Patreon, the kind of content that you were creating for them probably already was virtual. And so what kind of things do you offer for folks who are with you on Patreon?
Fancy that you asked. That's not real. Whatever. What I was going for was like fancy seeing you here, but also like, glad you asked.
That's close enough.
So
funny you should ask. Funny you should ask.
Funny you should ask.
Yes.
See, I knew there was an F and an N.
We were gonna get there.
A Y. Yeah. Gosh, yeah. So it used to be that all my patrons got a behind the scenes video that I was only putting on Patreon, and then I was like, you know what? I think I should probably put these on YouTube. Do you mind if I just give you an essay? And everyone was like, we love essays. You can do surveys on Patreon, so that's great.
You have found your audience. They're like, yes, we love essays. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really, really cool.
Yeah, so everyone gets an essay once a month, and then I still consider Patreon sort of like the funding for the content that I'm putting on YouTube, and then once a month I do a cover that my $5 patrons get to vote on, and my $10 patrons get a credit in my videos, and $20 patrons get a demo every month. So and that's a huge thing for me too, and that's why I started Patreon the way I did, because like I have to give my $20 patrons a new demo every month. That
forces you to, you've got to keep creating, you've got to keep writing, you've got to keep coming up with new material.
Yeah, which is pressure, but it's good.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Very cool. Well, I'm glad it's really working. And I just noticed that Dave Fry, of course, co-founder of Godfrey Daniels and someone who is near and dear to all of our hearts.
He's famous.
Dave Fry says, great to see you, Rachel. Dave Fry is watching us, or at least was watching us moments ago on the Facebook. So that's very, very cool.
That makes me happy.
I would love for you to play something for us, Rachel.
A song?
Please.
Cool.
Seeing as it is your livelihood.
It is, in fact, my livelihood. So someone said in the comments, happy anniversary, where's your champagne? Oops, I don't have any. But since I don't have champagne...
You've got a sentimental gentleman.
Yes, exactly.
It's even better.
But since I don't have champagne, I will play a song called Emergency Champagne to make up for my lack of actual champagne.
Go for it.
Champagne in my closet. Before I lived with people I trust not to steal my booze, and I always have a backup in case I need to pop it to celebrate accomplishments or unexpected news. But when the champagne sugar rush abruptly takes its leave and the sun comes shining rudely through the trees, it can be sobering to take stock and see if I believe that I was worth it all. Just little old me, that I was worth it all. Just little old me. I kept a couple of emergency apologies handy when he had me believing that every fault was mine, and I never asked for nothing in case I seemed demanding, in case it seemed conceited to think I deserved his time. But then you loved me strong enough that I began to see underneath all something sobering. The girl who I was made to be, and that I was worth it all. Just little old me, that I was worth it all. Just little old me. So I'm through with confetti love that melts in the rain, and I am through with the buzz of a love like champagne, and the sunlight through our window feeds the seeds of this love with a brightness that I'm not afraid of. I've got a bottle of emergency champagne in the kitchen, and when it's time to pop it, I won't just drink it down, 'cause I seldom feel the need now to get a bit too tipsy. Guess this is what it's like to build a life that I wanna be around. And when the champagne sugar rush fades and the day breaks, I can own my joys and own my mistakes. And it's sobering to choose every day to see that I am worth it all. Just a little old me, that I am worth it all. Just little old me. Thank you.
That is really lovely. That is really, really nice. And one of the things I like about it too is that it fits with one of the themes that you come back to a lot as a songwriter, which is to deal with just ideas about mental health, and to do it in very sort of human and approachable and day to day. It's not like, hey, it's this big, this is an event song, but that it just informs your approach to songwriting, which I think is really, really cool.
Thanks.
God, actually, you know, it makes me think of the, there was the, I don't remember if it was the album or the EP, where you had people doing bricks.
Yeah.
Tell people a little bit about that. So I think a lot of people who are watching may not be familiar with that, but I think that also ties into the same kind of idea, right? It's sort of this idea of self-acceptance, which, not for nothing, was a part of what influenced the writing for the song
Not
that I
for
did
Coltrane.
earlier tonight.
Yeah. Sorry, I made a bad joke and then I lost my own train of thought.
Happens to me all the time. No, you're just fine.
So when I put out my album False Foundations about over 2 years ago, that's bizarre. The lead track on that song is called Not Okay, and the opening line is feet firmly planted in a false foundation, and the concept of false foundations, which was where the name of the album came from, was just these things that we tell ourselves that we just believe. And I'm irresponsible. So I did a 2-year live stream party a couple weeks ago. Yeah, a couple weeks ago. That's not true. It was in May. Time is fake. But I still have a few of these bricks that I used in the music video, that these are the false foundations. And in the music video, spoiler alert, we burn them. But I had some left over. And so I had people tell me what some of their false foundations are, which are like things that you believe that you've told yourself or society has told you that like you really believe, and it informs the way you live your life.
Right.
And it's just not true. And so I have everyone will leave me on a brick. I have I am my trauma on a brick. Some of my favorites from the music video were middle school bullies were right.
Ooh.
And
Wow.
I am the sum of my sin. That one was that's big. But so it was really great to just like have people tell me like, what have you internalized that has messed up the way that you live your life?
Right.
And then burn it all.
Right. Well, and I love that it becomes then a community art making. You know, that it's the song becomes the jump, or the concept for the song and the concept of the music video becomes a jumping off point for people to engage with the art in a really, really personal way.
Yeah.
Very nice. See, we do highbrow stuff here. We got
Yeah.
Rachel, thank you so much for being here. I have more things I want to talk to you about, but I also want to make sure we have time to talk to Jason.
Yeah, that Jason guy.
That Jason guy, because he's important too. I'm going to put it on you for just a moment while I spotlight Jason. There he is. And if he can unmute himself. then we can actually talk to each other.
Hey.
Hey.
I'm here.
How's it going, sir?
Thank you, Rachel. That was lovely.
Absolutely, yes. So,
What are we talking
most people who have some idea who you are know you as a producer, as an engineer, as a recordist. But you also, your background, I think probably, we haven't actually talked about this. My assumption is that you probably were a musician first and then developed an interest and a skill in recording folks. How did that come together?
So yeah, absolutely. So I picked up I come from a very musical family to begin with. My dad's a music teacher. And my parents were involved in church music like since the day I was born, like before that. So it's been around me all the time. Like listening to my mom do harmonies in church is what made me so good. Has made me quick at it.
But you were hearing it, right? You were hearing that, hey,
exactly.
this is how this fits together from a really, really young age. Yeah.
Totally. And then me and my best friend from middle school and high school, we picked up the guitar about the same time, around age 14, and I never looked back. Like my parents made me take piano lessons, and I was in all the choirs at school, and I played some trombone. But after picking up the guitar, I just loved that, and so that's kind of where I got my start in that. And then as some of church music became more rock centered, in the churches I was at, I started playing in church that way, and slowly began to realize that like I enjoy this process of taking the song and figuring out where we could do with it with the instruments we have. And I've I've tried a couple times to write songs, but it's never been my thing at all. So anything I play tonight will be a cover.
That's fine. That's fine.
But I realized that I really liked putting those pieces together. And then after college, a friend and I, we went in together, put some money together, and bought some recording equipment and started messing around with it, recording some friends, and I really just fell in love with that. So it's, the whole process I've really come to enjoy. And then, I bounced around with it a little bit, and then in about 2012, I started making a business of it. And had a home studio for about 6 years, and am very fortunate to now be renting a room in a larger commercial studio now, and working with different artists, almost every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so we're going through sort of a similar process to what Rachel was doing, in sort of taking the plunge of, okay, I'm going to do music, not performance, but I'm going to do music full time in terms of this production work and recording work.
Yeah. Right.
And then again, you had been doing it for quite a while. Okay, so we're supporting the family, and we feel good about this. And then coronavirus hits, and suddenly it's much more challenging to get people into the studio, or maybe just outright unsafe to get people in the studio.
Sure.
And so you had to kind of pivot and figure out what you were going to do. And I was really intrigued by the ways you tried to turn around and say, okay, we're going to use this time where I can be a resource for people. So tell me, how did that process work?
Well, it's interesting. I'm kind of a little bit in the same boat as Rachel because my wife is a nurse, so she didn't stop working. So that helped out a lot. And I was already in the process of trying to develop some resources for artists I was working with that would help them learn to self-promote a little bit. Not that I didn't plan on managing anybody. I just wanted to give a little bit more to artists than just, I recorded your song, see ya.
Right, so how can you kind of add value in that relationship?
Exactly.
As well as, I would imagine, part of that ends up being a way that you market yourself. You say, hey, I'm someone who understands this business. I understand how to help you position your music, so that it's not like, you're slamming into a brick wall or taking a flying leap off a ledge once you're done the recording process. Like, hey, here's some idea.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen so many super talented artists here in the Valley, like, put money into these albums, and they're like, I released it! And they had no plan behind it. They didn't have a strategy or anything. They didn't promote it. They just put it out there and hoped something would happen, and that's not how it works. So, and I'd love to see more artists be able to do something with it, and at least make something with it, or at least make their money back, that kind of thing, or learn how to make a living with it, being able to do it well. So,
which is hard to do. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and part of it too, as you were saying, hey, if anyone wants to workshop songs with me, and I'll work on songwriting with you. And you've been recently posting a lot of interviews you've been doing with other folks in the industry here in the Lehigh Valley, with other folks in the industry beyond that. So what was the genesis of that idea?
Well, yeah,
And
like
then how did you get in touch with these various people, and how's the reception to that been?
yeah, I had already, like I said, I'd already been trying to develop some stuff, and then when I had more time, I started thinking, well, what can I do differently? What can I do to support the music scene without necessarily charging? And I still got some mixing jobs and stuff I did here and there, but I wasn't really making much money in between. But I just started putting it out there and saying, hey guys, like, if anybody's working on songs, like, I'll send them my way, because I love to just hear people's music and give you feedback and help you be that second pair of ears that can help you tweak a song a little bit before you keep going with it. I mean, I think feedback is super important, and everybody should have a sounding board. So I just kind of saying, like, I'm doing this for free. This is what I would do as pre-production for anybody I'm working with. And I got a really cool chance to just listen to a whole bunch of people's songs and give them feedback.
That is great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and gave me something to do while I was
Well, so you're not just spinning your wheels there. And I guess I should also ask too, I know a little bit because I've had a chance to be in your studio in the past couple of weeks, but how's the process now that we're in green? We're all hoping we want to stay there. But yeah, as you start to bring people in, how does it change the recording process?
Actually, when we've opened back up, I've been swamped more than I have.
All this pent
actually.
up demand of people who've been wanting to get in with you.
And I've had some people talk to me, that were waiting to do some things, and I've had some people have some new stuff, and there's just a whole lot going on. And I think part of it is I was doing some of those interviews, like you said, and I've just been putting myself out there more, and people have been seeing my face more, and probably just know a little bit more about what I'm doing and have been coming. So there's and I also do some work that the studio gets in that the main studio can't handle. So I do some of that too. So it's a combination of all that stuff. Yeah. So right now I'm trying to figure out how to schedule myself well, and it's hard.
Yeah. And with the family and a wife who has probably a challenging schedule working as a nurse, and it's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you making time for this.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm very grateful. And we found out at the Come Together webcast that I put together back at the beginning of April that you are in fact a very talented performer, and I would love if you could share something with us this evening.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Get your guitar out, man. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I apologize. I have a tiny voice talking to me trying to get my attention.
I understand. I understand. That is important.
He said, "You're good at your job. Please
Thank
do
you.
it."
So, like I said, like I play when I need to, and I put guitar tracks on people's stuff. But I don't perform out a whole lot. So I will do my best to do this. But I've done plenty of, like I said, done plenty of church music and stuff like that. So I'm kind of used to it as well. So,
Very cool.
What I planned on playing tonight is a song by one of my really good friends, and is a guy I've got to record a couple records with, and I've got the chance to. This is probably my favorite song that he's ever written, and I've got the chance to do it on the most recent album. So his album is called. This band is called Constitution and Ninth. If you want to look them up and check out their music, and this song is on there, but it's interesting because we probably never heard a song with the title or this word in it. We have a lake a little bit north of us called Lake Wallenpaupack. And the title of the song is Wallenpaupack. And it's just about a place that this guy, my friend Dan, used to go as a boy, and how much memory the lake itself has. And it's interesting because like the first couple lines tell you it's the 4th of July, he's there. And there's so much weight to some of the stuff that he's going through when he wrote this song, and it's just has hit home for me like at various points in my life. Been one of those little soundtrack, songs that you hear, you're like, that's mine.
And you're playing it right before the 4th of July, so
exactly,
even better.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's people up there right now ready to celebrate, So
socially distanced, we hope.
Yeah, sure. Yep. So it's a really it's a thought-provoking song. I think he does it just I don't know. It's just one of my favorites that he's ever written. So I'm gonna go ahead and start.
Take it away, man.
Standing on the shore of Wallenpaupack, the 5th hour of the 4th day of July. The sun is rising slowly over my back. See a lonely fishing boat pass by. Standing here, I can't help but remember walking on this shoreline as a boy. The years have brought me here to my surrender, and I'd do anything to hear your voice. I cannot hear, and I cannot see messages in bottles sent to me. The wind is picking up on Wallenpaupack. Sky looks like it might give way to rain. The sun is rising slowly over my back, turning things a lighter shade of gray. Strange to hear your voice off in the distance, a faint familiar whisper on the breeze. I stand before you void of all resistance, praying just to find a little peace. And I cannot hear, and I cannot see messages in bottles sent to me. And all that I fear, and all that I need, crash against the rocks of all my dreams. The fog that settled down on Wallenpaupack somehow found its way inside my mind. I'd give anything to find my way back to the place where I had just a little time. Your faithfulness is so hard to remember, and my failures are not easy to forget. descending from my cigarette. I cannot hear, and I cannot see messages in bottles sent to me. And oh, that I fear, and all that I need, crash against the rocks of all my dreams. All that I fear is all that I need, and all that I fear, you're all that I need. You're all that I need.
That is really nice. That is really nice. Wow.
Thank you.
I would love, and I'd love to hear the studio version from the band again. You said was what now?
Constitution and Ninth. It's like
Constitution
an intersection.
and Ninth,
So Constitution
okay.
Avenue and Ninth Avenue. I think it's where they thought they practiced, and it wasn't really the actual address of their practice space, and they just rolled with it anyway.
But it sounded good. And
Exactly.
also, yeah, absolutely. One of the things I like about it too is that it's such a powerful songwriting tool to use actual place names
Yeah.
in the song to incorporate that. So yeah, that's really really cool. We're coming up on the turn of the hour, but I wanted to get a few more things in. So first off, Jason, how can people find out more about you and what you do?
You can find me at my website, freestoneproductions.com, or on Instagram as freestone_Jason.
Very cool. And then I'm going to put it back on Rachel
Who's that?
so that we can talk for just a moment, because I had all sorts of other things I want to talk to you about too. So you have a show coming up. So first off, let's make sure we don't forget to tell people about that.
Wednesday, June 22nd. I think at 7:30, maybe.
Hold on, I'm going to mute Jason for just a second. There you go. Okay, sorry.
Ignore this tear in my...
2 Wednesdays from now, essentially?
Yes, right? No.
I think so. Anyway, so you said the 22nd.
It's 8, then 15, then 22. I can do math, right? Yeah, so Wednesday the 22nd, on the Gingerbeard House Productions Facebook page. I know it's a lot of words, but
Very
my
nice.
friend Thomas is hosting it. And yeah, so if you follow my Facebook page, you'll be able to find that. I'll make sure it's on my website. Yeah.
Very cool. And one of the things I want to talk to you about, we're basically out of time, but people should definitely go check out this video that you posted just recently that you and your friend Mary did, basically kind of a conversation about something else that I think is fascinating.
Oh, it's
Can you
just
tell us what
totally
it's about?
open-ended. Cool. So, well, we recorded this video several weeks ago and then didn't post it because I think, like a lot of white people lately who make their living telling people to look at them on the internet, we have been feeling called to not tell anyone to look at us on the internet, because the only thing I want people to look at on the internet right now is something that leads them towards racial justice work and anti-racism work. So we recorded this video a few weeks ago and then didn't post it. But since we did record it for Pride Month, we figured, we are sort of struggling with how to best use our voice towards anti-racism, but silence is not a fair
that's not helping
role
things either.
for us. Right, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think we've been trying to figure out how to use our voices, like both to promote ourselves and, well, sort of like to promote ourselves and our art, since that is how we make our living,
Right.
is promoting our art, and also to work towards racial justice. And like the content we make is good, even while flawed, it is good content, I think, I hope. But so we put out a video. Mary and I are both bi. I joke in the video that we're two famous bis. But like being somewhat public figures, being musicians. Mary Casiello is a singer-songwriter friend of mine. She's the one who said she was singing along. Yeah, that we just made this video about like what that means for us, and how the fact that we quite literally take the mic a lot of the time, and like are bi women who are in committed relationships with men, and so that's an aspect of our identity that sometimes gets erased, like why that's important for us to talk about, especially as people who feel like we can sort of take representation upon ourselves, like we can be representation in a way that not every job allows someone to
Sure.
put themselves out there like that.
Yeah.
So we had a conversation about like what it's like to be bi and why it's important to us.
But yeah, and then it's such a, the question of inequality and justice. I mean, because it transcends all these different ways that we humans put ourselves into boxes in terms of, gender identity and sexual orientation and race and economic, in all these different ways. And how do we make sense of where each of us is individually in that space? And then how do we reach out to people who don't have the same platform and find ways to elevate those voices and represent the parts of it that we can, and direct people to other people who can speak to it more authentically and in other circumstances. Yeah, it's something I certainly am continuing to struggle with as well. And so I hope a lot of people are able to check out that video, because it's just something that is so important and that we're all trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to have to leave that there, because I do need to make sure that I clear the space so that Steve Jones can get started with his piano pub in about 30 seconds. But thank you so much to Rachel and to Jason for being here with me. I'm very, very grateful for both of you taking time to do this.
Thanks for having us, Mike.
Absolutely. And we hope to see you again real soon. We have so many more things to talk about. So we'll we'll find more opportunities to do stuff like this in the future. Thank you again. And cheers to you. Thank you so much for being here.
My glass is empty, but cheers.
Well, hey, then you did it right. All right. And I'm going to put it back on me and close things out. Thank you so much to everyone who's been online and live with us here for Rockin' the Valley's Cyber Speakeasy. I'm very grateful. I know that Jason and Rachel Marie are as well. Please stick around, because right here on the Rockin' the Valley Facebook page, starting momentarily, Steve Jones has the piano pub going with all sorts of great performers. Stick around and check that out. My name is Mike. I am not for Coltrane. This has been Rockin' the Valley Cyber Speakeasy, your source every Thursday evening for music, conversation, and cocktails. So we hope that you join us here right here again next Thursday at 7 in the evening. Thanks so much. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you next time.